She experienced a severe public embarrassment directly during the most prestigious baseball tournament for the elite, where each swing featured a $1 million sponsor logo. Claire entered the field wearing a worn tee, holding a used wooden bat, and with her hair simply tied back. How did the staff get approval to use equipment? A wealthy player scoffed. She's here to collect foul balls, not participate. But moments later, Claire's first home run hushed the entire stadium and made her critics anxious. The Spring Invitational Women's Baseball Tournament at Rosebridge Park was a symbol of affluence, its green field bordered by stands covered in corporate advertisements, its atmosphere filled with the aroma of new leather gloves and Chanel No. 5. This exclusive event, a venue for heiresses, female CEOs, and semi-pro athletes, emphasized prestige more than competition. Custom-engraved Louisville Sluggers shone, limited edition Nike cleats sparkled, and camera drones whirred for social media visibility. The dugouts, furnished with velvet benches, were designated for the privileged, their sapphire wristbands scanned by staff in tailored blazers. Beyond the field, a VIP pavilion stood, its glass walls reflecting the influence of those within. Claire Wren entered the field, her simple white t-shirt tucked into standard joggers, her canvas sneakers showing wear from years of use, her high ponytail moving with her. At 27, raised in a small Ohio town, she had developed her swing in local lots while working as a part-time coach, her talent natural but undeveloped until she encountered Julian Wren, the billionaire who had transformed professional baseball. She carried a used bat with a faded price tag, her only tool in a setting of immense wealth. The grandstand stairs felt sharp, a murmur suggesting an impending shift. Claire's presence disrupted the tournament's carefully constructed image. Her bat seemed out of place in this exclusive environment. A semi-pro player, Lauren Holt, rested against the dugout, her $3,000 Prada uniform catching the light. "This is a baseball tournament, not a public fitness class," she commented, her voice carrying enough to draw attention. A tech heiress, dressed in a $2,000 Under Armour kit, laughed quietly, elbowing her teammate. "Perhaps she is lost?" The kids' training camp was located out back. Laughter echoed from the grandstand, spectators attempting to hide smiles with manicured hands. Claire remained still, her hazel eyes focused, her bat resting on her shoulder. She had come to play for Julian, the man whose league she had quietly helped fund. The audience's displeasure arose, their hearts tightening at the seemingly callous actions of these gatekeepers, their contempt a sharp contrast to Claire's quiet composure. The taunting grew more intense, a spiteful sound led by the tournament's most prominent figures. Whitney Crane, the event's current social icon and daughter of a sports media executive, stepped forward, her personalized Nike jersey gleaming, her blonde hair neatly styled and her expression scornful. At 25, having grown up in Manhattan's luxurious apartments, she was known for belittling those new to the scene. She looked at Claire's athletic pants and laughed. "That bat looks like it came from a second-hand store," she remarked, her voice cutting and cruel. The players roared, their laughter echoing off the grandstands. Whitney tossed her bob, her jasmine-scented perfume wafting, a scent Claire knew Julian disliked. Claire's fingers tightened on her bat, her face calm, but the audience's fury surged, their hearts pounding at this personal attack, Whitney's arrogance a spark in the frost. The scorn grew intense, a coordinated attack on Claire's presence. A tournament staffer, Margaret Voss, approached, her blazer perfectly pressed, her face showing years of upholding rules. At 52, raised in upstate New York, she took pride in keeping things in order. "Miss, the field is for registered players only," she stated, indicating the exit, her voice steady but not unkind. The crowd cheered, their designer cleats sparkling as they bid her farewell from the diamond. A CEO, dressed in athletic wear costing $4,000, commented, probably filming some fake TikTok badass girl video before going home. Laughter erupted, players bumped each other, and a teammate whispered, "She doesn't even look like an athlete." Another remarked, "That t-shirt's a disgrace and she dares step here?" The comments felt harsh, each word contributing to Claire's silence. The audience's anger intensified, feeling sympathy for Claire and frustration at this group's cruel behavior. A palpable disdain emanated from the players as Claire took her position on the diamond, their taunts a deliberate and coordinated attempt to undermine her confidence. A group comprising experienced athletes and sporting $7,000 custom Nike uniforms assembled close to the dugout, their comments forming a sharp and critical sound. "She diminishes this tournament standing," one remarked, flinging a personalized glove towards Claire's well-worn sneakers. "Return to the batting cages, please," another gestured, displaying a sapphire wristband, and added, "Her bat is inadequate. Do you imagine she acquired it at a yard sale?" The grandstand's laughter boomed, staff members exchanging glances, their gold pins catching the light. A former collegiate star shouted, "She's an insult to every swing taken here." The insults felt like a guillotine, each word a blade against Claire's calm composure. Julian's pavilion stood beyond the field, but the Diamond's disapproval felt like an overwhelming burden. The audience's anger grew, their hearts pounding furiously at this planned cruelty, their anger blazing, ready to engulf the elite's arrogance. Whitney Crane delivered another sharp verbal attack, aiming to undermine Claire's confidence in front of the elite. She moved to the pitcher's mound, her Nike jersey catching the light, and fixed a gaze on Claire. "All right then, give it a try," she challenged, her voice strong enough to quiet the surrounding whispers. "If you strike out 3 times, you'll kneel and declare, 'I don't deserve to step onto Rosebridge Park,' in front of every camera present." The grandstands erupted in cheers, their disapproval feeling like an overwhelming wave. Claire responded with a smirk, her hazel eyes unwavering. "What if you hit the first home run of the game?" Whitney raised an eyebrow, her confidence unwavering. "Then what?" Claire's voice was soft but firm. "Then you remove your jersey and walk off the field. Immediately." Whitney laughed, but the crowd's murmurs intensified. "She's finished." The audience's anger erupted, their hearts aching for Claire, infuriated by this public humiliation revealed before the stadium. The players' disappointment became hurtful, their words a harsh chorus. A venture capitalist, dressed in a $5,000 Lululemon outfit, rested against the dugout, her voice sharp and critical. "She's insignificant, likely here seeking sponsorship," she remarked, pointing at Claire's used bat. "Look at those sneakers. Were they retrieved from a discard pile?" The teammates chuckled, their sapphire wristbands catching the light. A semi-pro player exclaimed, "She brings shame to those who allowed her to participate." The laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance a stark display. Claire adjusted her ponytail, her hazel eyes steady, but the field's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional betrayal, their fury threatening to undermine the tournament's integrity. Whitney Crane's disapproval became more pronounced, her words a deliberate attempt to undermine Claire before the tournament's elite. She expressed that Claire was not only unsuitable but also embarrassing, her Nike jersey catching the light as she pointed at Claire's joggers. Julian Wren would be deeply upset to witness this. Claire's group of supporters laughed, their personalized bats striking together, glancing at Claire's used bat. "She's a handout, not a player," Whitney remarked, her voice strong enough to quiet any nearby comments. The players responded with encouragement, their disapproval a heavy presence, their whispers circulating, "She's an imposter." Claire's hazel eyes held a quiet intensity, but her smile remained, a defense against the hurt. The pavilion shone beyond the grandstands, yet the field's rejection felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger swelled, their spirits aching for Claire, upset at this socialite's deceit revealed before the stadium. The staff's involvement worsened the pain, their actions a further betrayal. Wearing a tailored blazer, field coordinator Emily Tate addressed a participant, her tone conveying a sense of superiority. "The practice field is that way," she stated, gesturing towards a side gate, a slight smile visible on her face, reflected by the players nearby. "We do not permit participants like yourself in the main tournament," she continued, prompting laughter from the onlookers. Emily, 28 years old and raised in Connecticut, valued her role in controlling access. The audience's affirmation felt like an overwhelming pressure, their attitude a very public display of judgment. Claire held her bat, her hazel eyes unwavering, but the atmosphere felt oppressive. The crowd's anger surged, their hearts racing in response to this blatant disrespect, their fury directed at Rosebridge's reputation. The field staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions resembling a deliberate humiliation intended to entertain the players. A senior official, Richard Tate, approached Claire close to the first baseline, his blazer immaculate, his voice laced with condescension. "Miss, this diamond is for credentialed athletes only," he stated, loud enough for the crowd to hear. He gestured at her t-shirt, indicating she might be in the wrong event, his smirk reflected by nearby staff. "We don't typically allow attire of this nature at the Spring Invitational," he added, prompting laughter from the players and spectators. The crowd's reaction felt overwhelming, and their demeanor felt dismissive. Claire held her bat, her hazel eyes steady, but the field's disapproval felt oppressive. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing at this perceived injustice, their resentment directed at Rosebridge's reputation. The players' harshness was evident, their words a bitter torrent. A media influencer, wearing a $6,000 Nike outfit, moved closer, her voice sharp and critical. "She's a fraud, likely trying to sneak onto the cameras," she stated, her associates agreeing with nods, their gold earrings catching the light. "The bat is a prop, merely a tactic for disguise," another addition. Shouts erupted. "She's a con artist. The tournament's been duped." The laughter was deafening, each rumor a blow aimed at Claire's heart. Spectators whispered falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. Rumors persisted. "She's after the prize money." Claire touched her ponytail, maintaining a steady gaze, but the crowd's slander felt like a heavy burden. The audience's outrage surged, their feelings aligned with Claire, their anger a powerful force against this damaging falsehood, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deceptions. The spectators' disdain intensified as they spread harmful rumors, their voices a sharp and bitter sound resonating through the grandstands. A sports agent, dressed in a $10,000 Tom Ford suit, moved closer, his voice forceful and pointed. "She's a fake, likely paid to get onto this field," he stated, his associates concurring, their cufflinks gleaming. "Her marriage is a fabrication, simply a tactic to enter the tournament," someone added, yelling, "She's a fraud. Julian has been deceived." The laughter intensified, each rumor felt like a painful blow to Claire's heart. Employees murmured falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's pursuing the sponsorships." Claire touched her bat, her expression unwavering, but the public's defamation felt like an immense burden. The audience's anger exploded, their hearts aligned with Claire, their fury a tidal wave against this malicious slander, desperately wanting the truth to dismantle the elite's lies. Claire remained silent, without a tear in her eyes, her hands holding her second-hand bat, a relic from her Ohio days, its grip worn from many swings. She stepped to the plate, her canvas sneakers soft on the dirt, her plain t-shirt a stark contrast to the field's opulence. A hush fell over the audience, thousands of eyes anticipating a mistake. Whitney Crane stepped onto the mound, her Nike jersey bright, her pitching honed by Team USA coaches. The first pitch, a sharp crack, zipped past the catcher's head, a line drive narrowly missing the infield. The second pitch, with a resounding wham, struck the edge of the stands, a foul ball that vibrated the bleachers. The third pitch, a powerful boom, cleared the main stadium fence, a white blur against the sky. The grandstand stood still, cameras focused, drones hovering. Whitney's mouth fell open, her hairstyle offering no protection. The audience's emotions changed, their frustration turning to excitement, Claire's understated resolve a glimmer in the cold air. The quiet of the crowd shattered, intakes of breath spreading through the scented atmosphere. A seasoned umpire, Arthur Cole, moved to the front, his worn hat pulled down, his eyes widened. At 65, a longtime figure in the sport, he indicated the fence. "That is the initial home run of the tournament," he announced, his voice shaking. A clean hit over the wall, something no one had accomplished in years. Players stood, gathering around the dugout, their sapphire wristbands catching the light. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Who is she? Where did she learn to hit like that? Why is she dressed like that?" Whitney's Nike jersey seemed to lose some of its brightness, her confidence seeming less sure. The audience's sense of pride grew, their hearts pounding as Claire's swing altered the field's power dynamic. A change fell over the atmosphere as the VIP pavilion moved, the crowd separating like a wave. Julian Wren entered the field, his gray suit impeccably tailored yet subtly styled, his arrival a striking moment. At 38 years old, having grown up in Chicago, he was the creator of Rosebridge Park and held significant shares in the National Baseball League, fundamentally altering the sport. He moved past a speechless Whitney, placed his arm around Claire's waist, kissed her forehead, and offered a smile. "I told you," he stated, his voice unwavering. "One swing is all it takes." The grandstands fell silent, camera flashes illuminated the scene, and drones remained suspended above. Julian addressed Whitney, his gray eyes fixed on hers. "You have disrespected the primary sponsor of this tournament and my wife," he stated. "Effective immediately, you will not be included in any event organized by my group, and those who participated in today's discriminatory actions will be subject to the same consequence." A wave of emotion rippled through the audience, their anger shifting to admiration, as Julian's words exposed the falsehoods that had concealed Claire. The players halted, Whitney Crane's personalized bat falling from her grasp, striking the ground with a sound on the dirt. Julian spoke, his voice breaking the quiet. He emphasized that the tournament was founded on principles of fairness, and pointed out that Claire had provided funding for half of its endowment, yet someone had the audacity to criticize her. The players' cleats appeared to lose their vibrancy, and their faces were drawn with surprise. Emily Tate remained still, her position as a gatekeeper proving to be a demonstration of her failure. Julian indicated Claire with a firm hand. "She doesn't require your wristbands. She embodies the spirit of this game." The audience erupted in cheers, their anger shifting to admiration as Claire's revelation started to redefine the tournament's history. Arthur Cole acknowledged her with a respectful nod, his cap pulled low, as everyone waited for her reply. Claire moved forward, her worn t-shirt a subtle symbol of her strength, and clasped Julian's hand. "I didn't come here to demonstrate anything," she stated, her voice gentle yet firm. "I came to compete." She hesitated, her hazel eyes scanning the stands. "However, since you requested a swing, I delivered one." The stadium erupted, spectators standing, their applause a symphony of awe. Whitney Crane bowed her head, her Nike jersey no shield, and muttered, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Wren." Representatives from sports brands and media outlets approached, their endorsement offers extended with trembling hands. Claire smiled, squeezed Julian's hand, and said, "I just came to hit the ball." The audience roared, their hearts pounding as her grace crushed the elite's arrogance. The consequences were swift, a judgment rendered quietly. Whitney Crane was led off the field, her jersey removed amidst a barrage of camera flashes, her media empire now a stark warning. Emily Tate received a reassignment to administrative duties, effectively ending her career of controlling access. Lauren Holt, the semi-pro who had ridiculed Claire's bat, was prohibited from participating in future tournaments, and her sponsorships were terminated. The venture capitalist who had derided Claire's sneakers was disallowed from league events, her power eliminated. Those who had laughed faced disciplinary action, with reduced responsibilities. Individuals who had disseminated rumors concealed their wristbands, losing any semblance of authority. Claire stood next to Julian, her canvas sneakers firm, her used bat a symbol of her integrity. The audience's hearts pounded, their anger shifting to triumph, Claire's victory shining brightly and humbling the field's top players in Rosebridge's revered park. Julian Wren's presence dominated the room, his voice like a sharp command that stilled the atmosphere, decorated with banners. "You dared to challenge Claire Wren," he stated, his gray eyes radiating controlled anger. "Your wristbands, your titles, hold no weight against her truth." He then displayed a tablet showing a series of broken connections, Whitney Crane's media contracts, Emily Tate's event privileges, and players' sponsorship deals, all revoked by Rosebridge's board. Erased from baseball's future, he declared, his gaze fixed on Whitney. "You've lost more than games, you've lost your platforms." The crowd's gasps resonated as a symphony of shock, their empires crumbling under his command. Claire stood beside him, her faded t-shirt glowing, her triumph confirmed by Julian's unrelenting power. The audience roared, their hearts soaring as his global retribution suppressed the elite's arrogance. The downfall of the elite proved to be a striking event, their arrogance broken under Julian's command. Whitney Crane faltered from the mound, her Nike jersey appearing ironic, her reputation serving as a warning to the players. Emily Tate's control over access diminished, her disdain becoming a public embarrassment, with her assistants guiding her towards the service exit. Lauren Holt's endorsements disappeared, her mockery revealed as falsehoods. The sports agent who had spread rumors concealed his cufflinks, his contracts invalidated. The staff who had sneered were terminated, their careers concluded. The media influencer who had laughed faced rejection, her platform diminished. Claire stood tall, her sneakers a subtle symbol of triumph, her hazel eyes resolute. The grandstand's cameras flashed, documenting the elite's downfall, their empires collapsing due to Claire's swing. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, their frustration shifting to a sense of accomplishment, Claire's triumph and Julian's displeasure resonating across Rosebridge's esteemed park, impacting the world's wealthiest individuals. The tournament's established order collapsed under Julian's direction, revealing a deep-seated corruption within its foundation. He addressed the event director, his tone sharp and direct. "Your selection process is a sham," he declared, his gray eyes unwavering. "All regulations that caused my wife distress are null and void, effective immediately." He tapped his phone, and a series of notifications flooded the staff's devices. Agreements terminated, privileges withdrawn, entire teams dissolved. The venture capitalist's approvals were invalidated, her power a remnant of a bygone era. The semi-pro team was disqualified, her professional path halted. The coordinator who had laughed was escorted out, her blazer dark. Claire stood beside Julian, her used bat a silent reminder of her honesty, her victory a bright spot in the tournament's fading glow. The audience's emotions lifted, their frustration changing into celebration. Julian's fury a powerful surge that washed away Rosebridge's pride. The players' downfall became absolute as they addressed the cameras. Their earlier confidence vanished under Julian's direction. They approached the field's perimeter, their sapphire wristbands losing their luster, their voices unsteady. Lauren Holt turned towards the grandstands, her Prada uniform seeming inappropriate. "I was mistaken to criticize Mrs. Wren," she stated, her apology a public admission of fault, resulting in the termination of her endorsements. The media influencer followed, her Nike attire appearing worn, her online presence eliminated. "I regret propagating falsehoods," she whispered, her power diminished. The venture capitalist expressed her regret, her previous statements now meaningless. The employees who had previously mocked them were now last, their professional attire removed, their careers concluded. Claire stood next to Julian, her simple shirt a subtle emblem, her bat representing her authenticity. The crowd erupted, their spirits lifted as the apologies of the powerful resonated, their influence diminishing due to Claire's powerful hits and Julian's unwavering strength. Claire's history remained unknown, not to the players, not to Whitney, and not to the staff. At 18, she would practice swings in vacant lots while coaching children, her diner tips paying for her glove. At 22, she encountered Julian at a charity game, her natural talent captivating him amidst the spectacle. Their marriage, a personal commitment in an Ohio meadow, was founded on affection and mutual aspirations. Whitney's perfume, the staff's blazers, the players' kits, none equaled the significance of the bat Claire possessed. Now she stood on the field, her ponytail a testament to her truth, her silence a furnace that burned through their lies. The tournament paused, but the grandstand's eyes remained on Claire. A league official approached, his voice low with respect. "Mrs. Wren, your swing is legendary," he said. His earlier scorn was a regret. The players retreated, their influence null, their agents scrambling to salvage ties with Rosebridge. The sponsors hovered, their empires trembling in Claire's shadow. She proceeded toward the pavilion, her hazel eyes following Julian's confident smile. The banners lessened in brightness, the spring light disappearing, leaving behind a procession of the world's wealthiest individuals seeking her approval. There was a quiet acknowledgement of defeat for those who had previously scorned her. Claire was called onto the stage, her sneakers making little sound on the platform where she accepted the Sports Fairness Icon Award, its crystal sparkling under the lights. She held Julian's hand, her t-shirt a subtle expression of her integrity. The crowd erupted, their applause a powerful surge as she stepped down, her bat slung over her shoulder. The field grew quiet, the cameras motionless, the elite's empire's dust settling. Julian moved closer to her, his gray eyes gentle. "Ready to go home?" she affirmed, her hazel eyes following his smile. They exited the field, the spring light diminishing, leaving Rosebridge Park forever altered by a single swing. She endured a severe public shaming, occurring directly during the most prominent baseball competition for top players, where each swing featured a $1 million sponsor logo. However, when her bat connected with the ball and her husband's truth emerged onto the field, everyone understood one thing. The authentic champion doesn't require specialized equipment. She simply needs to swing, and the stadium will acknowledge her. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. And tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Claire? Red wine stained her uniform. A mop was thrust into her hands, and laughter echoed as she was addressed as merely help and instructed to remain unseen. She was treated with disdain, as though her presence diminished the refined atmosphere of the elite, disregarded without recognition of her name, face, or prospects. However, what they were unaware of, what no one anticipated, was that the maid they ridiculed had quietly accumulated every secret, every deception, every scandal they attempted to conceal. Their empire crumbled unexpectedly. The estate exuded opulence. Marble floors extended seemingly without end, chandeliers shimmered with gold, and walls displayed paintings that spoke of inherited wealth. The Carlyles presided over it all, a family entrenched in politics and business, their names synonymous with influence. Vivian entered as their new housemaid, a woman in her 30s, her dark hair pulled back, her plain gray uniform unremarkable. She possessed beauty, with striking cheekbones and deep brown eyes, yet it went unnoticed. To them, she was a shadow, moving quietly through their world. Her employment began 6 months prior, and the experience was harsh from the outset. Victoria Carlyle, the lady of the house, moved about in silk robes, issuing commands as if Vivian were a machine. "Scrub the foyer again. Those tiles aren't gleaming," she would say even when they appeared spotless. Her daughter, Brooke, was even more difficult, with sharp heels and a sharper tongue, 25 years old and exhibiting a sense of entitlement. "Don't touch my bags. You'll smudge them," she would hiss, pushing past Vivian as if she were a piece of furniture. The guests were no better. Senators, CEOs, individuals with private jets, scarcely giving her a look as they requested new drinks or expressed dissatisfaction with the silverware's cleanliness. Vivian endured it all, lowering her head, speaking quietly, and keeping her hands still. This continued, day after day, in a cycle of fetching, cleaning, and bowing. Victoria once required her to remake a 5-course dinner arrangement because a napkin was slightly misaligned. Brooke yelled when Vivian inadvertently brushed against her purse. "I'm fortunate I don't dismiss you personally." The employees speculated she wouldn't remain. However, Vivian persevered, her composure unwavering, her silence a subtle strength unnoticed by many. One afternoon, Brooke abruptly took a tray of crystal glasses from Vivian's grasp. The fragile stems broke on the marble floor, seemingly intended to observe her reaction. "Oops, too heavy for you?" Brooke remarked, her heels tapping as she laughed, the shattering sound resonating throughout the foyer. Sharp fragments of glass sliced into Vivian's palms as she knelt to clean, blood mingling with the debris. But no apology emerged, only Victoria's harsh voice from the stairs. "You will pay for that clumsy fool." Vivian remained silent, her hands steady despite the pain, their harshness a whip striking across her lowered head. She polished their world while they walked over her, unnoticed unless they needed something or someone to mistreat. One evening, Victoria dumped a bucket of soapy water over Vivian's head in front of a group of elite guests relaxing in the parlor, the suds soaking her uniform and dripping onto the rug. "That's what you get for missing a spot," Victoria said, her silk robe swishing as the room erupted in laughter, a senator slapping his knee. "She's a drowned rat now." Brooke smirked, snapping a photo. "Perfect for the help scrapbook." Shivering and soaked, Vivian stood, wiping her face with a deliberate motion, ignoring their taunts as she endured them silently. Soon after, the party arrived. The Carlisle mansion shone that night, filled with the city's most prominent figures. Tuxedos, elegant gowns, and diamonds glittered like constellations. Vivian moved through the gathering, carrying a tray and pouring wine with practiced care. The atmosphere vibrated with business discussions and joyful sounds, the Carlisle family presiding over the event. As she refilled a glass, her elbow brushed against a woman, a prominent businesswoman named Diane Kessler. She was strikingly dressed, with blonde hair and a dress valued at $20,000. During the party, a plate of hors d'oeuvres was pushed into Vivian's chest by Diane. Immediately preceding the wine spill, the greasy appetizer stained her gray dress as the crowd murmured, "Carry it right or don't bother," Diane exclaimed, her blonde hair swaying as she turned to her companions. "She's a walking disaster. Look at her." Victoria advanced, her voice sharp. "Clean yourself up. You're a disgrace." Brooke laughed derisively. "She's the stain now." Vivian calmly removed crumbs, her silence a defense against their harsh amusement, feeling the room's attention focused on her. Red wine spread across the white silk, creating a noticeable mark. The atmosphere shifted, and then Diane spoke forcefully. "People like you don't belong in a place like this." Her voice resonated, silencing the surrounding noise. All eyes turned to her. An accident had occurred. Vivian stood there, tray steady, wine dripping to the floor, her face blank. Victoria approached quickly, her heels clicking sharply. "What happened? You've caused a scene in front of everyone," she exclaimed, her voice carrying throughout the room. Brooke observed with a slight smile, her arms crossed. "She's made a mess. Remove her." Diane gestured to her damaged dress. "I should take legal action against you for this." The onlookers responded with laughter, sharp intakes of breath, and whispers of "How did she get in here?" Following the wine spill, Richard threw a wad of cash at Vivian's face, the bills slapping her cheek as he shouted from across the room, "That's for the dress. Now get lost." The crowd cheered, a woman in pearls shouting, "Pay up, maid." While Brooke clapped, she declared, "She's worth less than that." Victoria sneered, urging, "Take it and crawl out. You've ruined enough." Vivian caught the money midair, her fingers steady, her brown eyes unblinking, the laughter of the onlookers feeling like a hammer pounding her down. She remained steadfast, simply tucking it into her apron and continuing to clean. Vivian did not react, only bending to address the spill. Her silence resonated more powerfully than their comments. The shame was intense. A senator laughed, remarking, "Guess they're hiring off the street now." A woman adorned with pearls whispered, "She's got no business here." Victoria seized Vivian's arm, pulling her towards the kitchen. "You're finished for tonight. Remain out of view," she hissed, pushing her through the door. Following the initial confrontation, Brooke stated, "Don't come back until you understand your place." A wave of mocking laughter trailed her, emanating from individuals who had never performed manual labor. As the party concluded, Victoria pressed a mop into Vivian's hands, her voice sharp as she directed her towards the spill. "Clean it up, you're inadequate. For once, do something correctly." "Guess," a CEO commented, "she's not even competent at that." Simultaneously, Brooke positioned the mop bucket nearer, soaking Vivian's legs. Diane gave a scornful smile. "Should have let her go a long time ago. Disgraceful." Vivian held the mop tightly, water collecting near her feet, her uniform stained with wine and grease, but she didn't react, simply beginning to clean. Their animosity, a burden she bore silently. Vivian remained in the dimness, drying her hands, her gaze unwavering, without tears or complaint. Afterward, as the party concluded and the mansion grew quiet, Vivian went to a small room located near the east wing. She secured the door, retrieved a burner phone from her apron pocket, and initiated a call. Her tone altered, becoming subdued, precise, and authoritative. "The moment is at hand. Transfer the assets by tomorrow." A map adorned the wall with a red thread connecting various entities: Carlisle Holdings, Novalink, offshore banks. She followed a path with her fingertip, her expression distant, analytical. This was no ordinary hiding place. It was a strategic command center. She wasn't merely Vivian, the insignificant one. She was something else altogether. The following morning, the Carlyles convened in the oak-paneled study. Victoria, Brooke, and Patriarch Richard were present, all in crisp suits and with smug grins. Richard puffed a cigar. "Novalink is our golden ticket," he stated. $500 million is at stake, and they're begging for us. Victoria nodded in agreement. "We'll secure the deal today. Our most significant move yet." Brooke tossed her hair. "I'll be leading that boardroom shortly." Unbeknownst to them, Vivian was in the adjacent room, listening intently near the wall. They were unaware that Novalink wasn't a far-off acquisition. It belonged to her. Operating under a legal alias, she had constructed it from nothing. A Southeast Asian empire valued at billions, 10 times the Carlyle fortune. She controlled the game they believed they were participating in. Her narrative was more complex, more troubling. 20 years prior, her father, Charles Lancaster, worked as a journalist. He was persistent, investigating the Carlyles' illicit dealings. Corruption, money laundering, and bribes were exposed. He possessed comprehensive evidence. Subsequently, an incident occurred, a car crash on a rainy night. The brakes had been tampered with. There were no witnesses. Vivian was 13 years old, observing her mother, who worked as a Carlyle maid, fall apart when she was dismissed. Sorrow consumed her mom a year later, leaving Vivian an orphan, her family broken by the Carlyles' actions. She made a vow then in that bleak orphanage to expose them, not through outbursts but through quiet determination. There was further injustice. The Carlyles enjoyed their public relations displays, taking in Mia, a 6-year-old orphan, and showcasing her at events as a symbol of their generosity. "Our angel," Victoria said to the press, all manufactured tears and staged photographs. The team was unaware that Mia was Vivian's niece, the daughter of her sister, Lily, who had also been employed by them. Lily had died unexpectedly, a fall down the mansion stairs. There was no formal inquiry. Vivian accepted the position of maid with a single purpose: to remain nearby, to protect Mia from those responsible for her mother's death. Each task, from cleaning shelves to serving drinks, brought her closer to fulfilling that commitment. Time passed, and the atmosphere grew strained. Richard finalized the Novalink documentation, his expression conveying satisfaction. Vivian continued with her customary tasks, cleaning, assisting, and observing. Then Victoria spotted her close to Mia's room, her expression wary. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "You're dismissed. Leave immediately." Victoria attempted to seize her phone, initiating a call to security. "Have her removed now." 2 guards entered the room, but rather than apprehending Vivian, they paused, their heads lowered. "We await your command, ma'am," one stated, his voice resolute. Victoria's hand halted in mid-motion, her complexion paling. Vivian had systematically substituted each guard over several months. After 6 years of meticulous preparation, her strategy was nearing completion. The following evening, the Carlyles held a press gala, with cameras flashing and reporters eagerly discussing the event, creating a setting for their anticipated triumph. Richard addressed the audience. "Our family's legacy is unparalleled. Business, charity, leadership." The crowd responded with applause and smiles. Suddenly, the screens began to flicker. A woman stepped forward. Vivian, wearing a simple gray dress and with no makeup or special introduction. She connected a drive to the projector, and the room fell silent. Documents appeared on the screen. Evidence of tax fraud, fabricated charities, and records of bribes emerged. Years of revelations about Carlyle surfaced. It was undeniable. Speaking with a steady, unwavering voice, she declared, "I was the daughter of Charles Lancaster, the man you had killed. You took my family, my home, my sister." She explained her previous silence, stating, "Because sometimes silence is the loudest scream." The displays showed Charles and Gwen's past articles. Headlines detailed Carlyle's corruption, his handwriting appearing in the margins, providing proof of his involvement in covering up their wrongdoing. A wave of gasps rippled through the audience, quickly turning into shouts as Vivian's voice resonated, identifying him as her father. Richard's hand holding his cigar trembled, the dark history of his empire exposed, every concealed payment surfacing as specters threatening to overwhelm him. Victoria's luxurious silk robe appeared diminished as she watched. The maid she'd soaked was revealed to be the daughter of one of their victims, her presence a reflection they were powerless to destroy. Brooke's image of Vivian's wet uniform briefly filled her thoughts. A shocking revelation now turned against them, the truth a sudden and impactful disclosure that left them stunned. The onlookers gasped, cameras clicking. Richard's cigar dropped, Victoria's pearls were gripped tightly, Brooke's smirk vanished. Proof accumulated, offshore accounts, forged signatures, and a hit order from 1998 with Richard's initials. Vivian spoke calmly, without triumph, simply presenting the facts. Her brown eyes met theirs, and the situation quickly descended into disarray. Journalists surged forward, yelling questions. Is this true? Who is she? The Carlyles protested. Lies.
Fabrication.
But the proof was undeniable. 6 years of Vivian's work, each file a devastating piece of evidence. Richard's expression contorted as Vivian's evidence appeared on the screens, his cigar falling as he understood that every dollar he'd pursued was insignificant compared to her vast holdings. He had spent money on a woman who could have financed his existence 100 times over, and now he had lost everything. A photograph of Lily appeared next, Vivian's sister, young and smiling, then a death certificate confirmed an accidental fall, followed by payroll records listing her as their maid, the dates corresponding with Mia's birth. The audience fell silent, then reacted strongly as Vivian indicated Mia, saying, "She's my niece. Your angel was my blood." Victoria's insincere tears from press conferences seemed bitter, her prized child exposed as a falsehood she's previously displayed, now a burden upon her. Brooke's self-satisfied grin from presenting Mia at galas disappeared. She had mocked the aunt while cuddling the niece, and the room's cheers drowned her out. Vivian's truth, a blade, shattered their facade. Victoria's pearls snapped in her grip, her sobs choked by the revelation that the maid she demeaned possessed more than her dreams. Her dynasty crumbled under Vivian's quiet hand. Brooke's heels wobbled as she stared, her smirk a distant memory. Nova Link's billions rendered her $500 million a child's game, and the press swarmed. Her downfall played out for the world to see. Their greed had blinded them, and Vivian's justice cut deeper than any blade, their empire dust at her feet. Then came the surprising development. Nova Link is pulling out, Vivian said matter-of-factly. Oh, and I own it. Every cent. Nova Link's logo flashed prominently, a corporate powerhouse Vivian had created, its billions displayed in real time, overshadowing the Carlyles' modest fortune as the press announced. She owns it all. Richard's $500 million deal disintegrated into nothing. He had pleaded with someone he had previously ridiculed, his cigar a prop in a performance she had crafted. Victoria's shriek cut through the air. "That's impossible," she exclaimed. But the figures were undeniable. Her maid's assets resembled a vast wave eroding their inheritance. Brooke's heels clicked as she retreated, her aspirations for the boardroom a dream against Vivian's actuality. The audience's applause a tribute to her unspoken authority, their ruin a melody they were powerless to silence. Richard's jaw fell.
Victoria gasped.
Brooke's eyes widened as if struck. Vivian's substantial wealth, amounting to billions, a truly immense fortune, made their $500 million deal seem insignificant. The room felt unstable. Their empire appeared to be crumbling. Police lights flashed outside within hours, assets were frozen, and warrants were issued. The guards advanced, their uniforms sharp, their expressions impassive. Vivian's network, cultivated over years, now positioned itself around her as the screens displayed security logs revealing their identities, exposing her 6-year strategic plan. Richard shouted, "You work for me." But they remained unmoved, one quietly saying, "Not anymore, sir." The feeling of betrayal felt like a knife twisting inside him. Victoria's suggestion to dismiss Vivian seemed like a cruel jest now. She had entrusted her position to a woman who had already established a claim. Brooke's outburst, "She's nothing," faded as the crowd voiced Vivian's name, her quiet ascent to power a triumph they could not seize. their authority diminished by the servant they had attempted to suppress. Richard shouted into a phone, "Correct this!" But his legal team was already arranging their departure. Victoria wept, "We are destroyed." Brooke attempted to leave unnoticed, but reporters prevented her, her heels now ineffective. The guards, Vivian's guards, maintained their positions, devoted to her, not to them. Mia ran to Vivian, embracing her leg, and Vivian crouched down, whispering, "You are safe now." The Carlyles were unaware that Mia was Lily's daughter, unaware that Vivian had outmaneuvered them all. The consequences arrived quickly. Inquiries swept through Carlyle assets, revealing tax evasion, fraud, and connections to murder. Richard was arrested. Victoria relinquished her philanthropic endeavors. Brooke's reputation as a socialite disintegrated. Their estate plunged into darkness, gates secured, a lasting symbol of avarice. Vivian didn't accept a single dollar. She presented the proof, departed without stain. She upheld her sister's pledge, shield Mia, reveal the corruption. No acclaim, no dominion, solely justice, serene and stark. Several weeks elapsed. Vivian stood on a rural highway, Mia holding her hand. No expansive residence, no protectors, just a modest garment and a child mirroring Lily's expression. They headed towards a modest dwelling, unassuming and tranquil, hers. Vivian's victory required no fanfare. She had overcome them through perseverance, kindness, and a keen intellect surpassing their strength. As the sun descended, Mia released a joyful laugh, finally liberated. Often, those who appear reserved can dismantle even the most powerful structures. If this narrative resonated with you, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing for more content. She was removed from the graduation stage due to her attire, a simple white cotton dress, worn ballet flats, and a casually tied ponytail, an appearance that drew attention from those in attendance. "You are not on the speakers list. Please step down," stated the event organizer, the silence that followed as brittle as glass. No explanation was given. There was no public questioning of why Elise Carter, St. Morel's top student, was excluded from the final moment of recognition. Instead, quiet mockery rippled through the audience, unaware that daughters of janitors sometimes aspired to share a stage with those from established families. She descended, 1 foot at a time, moving past gazes filled with judgment. However, just then, the doors swung open, and her fiancé, heir to a billion-dollar empire, entered. Royal Lancaster Hall resembled a cathedral of privilege, its crystal chandeliers projecting prisms of light that shimmered across gilded walls and velvet-draped tables. The air was heavy with the fragrance of orchids and affluence, each guest a dazzling symbol of power. St. Morel Academy's graduation ceremony was far more than just an event. A coronation unfolded for the heirs of Forbes-listed dynasties. Diamond earrings shimmered on every ear, bespoke suits whispered with each movement, and the sound of champagne flutes resonated as a symbol of exclusivity. The students, adorned in silk-lined caps and gowns, were seated in rows of polished mahogany chairs, their futures seemingly predetermined and promising. A live-stream screen displayed the ceremony for those unable to purchase the $5,000 guest tickets, and among the viewers stood Maria Carter, Elise's mother, her hospital janitor scrubs concealed by a borrowed coat, her gaze fixed on her daughter's image. Elise entered, her white cotton dress a subtle rejection of the lavish surroundings. At 22, she was captivating, not with the refined appearance of her contemporaries, but with the natural beauty of someone who had rightfully earned her place. A low ponytail held back her dark hair, highlighting cheekbones and hazel eyes that conveyed warmth and determination. The gentle sound of her faded ballet flats accompanied her across the marble floor, her steps sure despite the challenge of 1,000 stairs. She was the scholarship student, raised by a single mother who cleaned hospital floors to ensure they could pay their rent. Exceptionally intelligent and persistent, she had earned a place among the best at St. Morel's, only to face criticism for the circumstance of her background. The lack of her mother in the hall felt like a hidden pain, as she was aware Maria observed from the chilly street beyond. When Elise settled into her place, the hall's prominent figures initiated a digital attack. Mobile phones illuminated, students rapidly typing, their social media updates a public shaming. Charity case crashes, one wrote, highlighting Elisa's worn shoes. Mother posted, St. Moral's biggest mistake, allowing a cleaner's child to attend. The live stream discussion became filled with harsh comments. She's a fraud, and kick her out, peered frequently. Sophia Lyle, a girl in a sapphire gown, stood, her voice audible to Maria outside. Reports indicated her dress was trending as the worst fashion choice of the year. The hall erupted in laughter, a cruel sound, with phones raised as if to attack Elise. She remained still, her hazel eyes focused ahead, though her fingers lightly touched her plaque, revealing a slight tremor that contradicted her composure. Maria's expression on the live stream was one of suffering, each online post feeling like an insult to her honor. The audience's anger intensified, fueled by their outrage at the mob's actions, attention poised to explode. Ethan Caldwell, a large senior and inheritor of a tech empire, rose from his seat, his substantial build looming over Elise as she remained seated. "You're occupying space you have no right to," he stated, his voice resonating throughout the diamond section. He approached, the sound of his loafers striking the marble floor, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards her. "That dress is disrespectful to this hall. Leave before we force you to." A hush fell over the crowd, an unspoken sense of danger palpable as phones were raised to document the scene. Ethan moved closer, his breath warm with champagne, his fingertip hovering near Elisa's face. "Your mom scrubs floors, for people like us. Know your place." A scattering of students offered encouragement, their voices keen and insistent. Elisa's hands remained clasped, her hazel eyes locked with his, unwavering despite the visible pulse in her neck. A palpable tension filled the air, her silence a delicate defense against his threat, and the audience's anger swelled, yearning for her to be saved. The hall seemed to sway as Elise took her place in the diamond section, designated for the privileged. Murmurs cut through the atmosphere. "Wait, are they renting out diamond seats by the hour now?" Scoffed a boy in a tailored tuxedo, his cufflinks gleaming. A girl standing close by, her gown adorned with Swarovski crystals, bent forward. It was evident she had entered without permission. The absence of anyone accompanying her was noticeable. Her voice, measured and harsh, resonated, prompting laughter from those seated nearby. Elisa's hands remained still in her lap, her expression calm. She had endured more difficult experiences during her 4 years at St. Morel, including classmates ridiculing her thrift store clothing and professors doubting her suitability for leadership. However, today was meant to be different. It was her graduation day. Natalie Harrington, daughter of a global fashion empire, was positioned 3 rows ahead, her blonde hair falling in flawless waves, and her emerald gown a $20,000 creation. She glanced back, her blue eyes assessing Elise from head to toe, and remarked, loud enough for the entire section to hear, "St. Morel really needs to reevaluate its scholarship standards." She continued, "We can't have commoners ruining the visual harmony." Amusement spread through the section as heads turned to observe Elisa's simple dress. A young boy close by called out, asking what's next, and suggesting her mom scrub the stage. The hall was filled with murmurs, the taunting palpable and sustained by Elisa's quietness. She didn't react. Her hazel eyes remained focused on the stage, though her fingers briefly clenched, revealing a momentary strain beneath her composure. A professor, Dr. Evelyn Tate, stood from the faculty row, her silk shawl shifting as she addressed the hall with a condescending smile. "Miss Carter's attendance here was generous, but misplaced," she stated, her voice conveying insincere sympathy. "St. Morel is intended for individuals destined for leadership, not those who fulfill supporting roles," she indicated, gesturing toward Elise, her diamond ring catching the light. "Your scholastic achievements are noteworthy, but leadership demands heritage, not benevolence." The audience expressed agreement with quiet sounds and applause, their sense of privilege forming a barrier around Elise. "Perhaps a vocational school would be a more appropriate fit for you," Tate observed, her words carefully chosen to inflict pain. Elise held the plaque in her lap, her hands still, though her hazel eyes betrayed a hidden sorrow. Outside, Maria's hands tightened as the live stream broadcast Tate's dismissive remarks, her daughter's aspirations ridiculed by those who should have supported her. The audience's anger swelled, their outrage at this violation of trust by those in power a searing pain. Natalie Harrington moved closer, her emerald gown reflecting the chandelier's glow, her voice sharp and controlled. She observed her, believing she could occupy our position. She stated, her voice clear enough for the live stream to record each word. She stood, indicating Elisa's dress with a gesture, her carefully shaped nails catching the light. That garment is suited for a laundry basket, not St. Morel's stage. And those flats, she continued, I wouldn't wear them to walk my dog. The hall erupted in laughter, students applauding, their amusement a public humiliation. A student yelled, send her back to the hospital to mop floors. Natalie's smile broadened, her gaze fixed on Elise. Your mother's a cleaner, and you're just her shadow leeching off our prestige, she hissed, her words intended to inflict pain. Elisa's plaque trembled in her hands, her knuckles whitening, but her face remained composed, a barrier against the attack. The live stream outside showed Maria's face falling, the crowd's harshness a blow to her heart, and the audience grew increasingly agitated, their anger threatening to erupt. The ceremony commenced, the dean's voice resonating through the hall, commending the prospective leaders of the world. Elisa's name was announced for the valedictorian award, her flawless GPA a testament to her exceptional intellect. As she stood, the whispers intensified. She, valedictorian? Questioned a girl adorned with pearls. It must have been achieved through dishonest means. Elise proceeded to the stage, her movements deliberate, her dress reflecting the chandelier's illumination. The applause was subdued, overshadowed by expressions of disapproval. She received her plaque, her smile subtle yet firm, and returned to her seat, the feeling of their assessment feeling more significant than the award she held. A cluster of students close to Elisa's seat rose, spearheaded by Julian Pierce, a banking heir whose smirk matched the precision of his suit. Let's make her feel welcomed, he announced, throwing a discarded napkin toward her. Pick it up, cleaner's kid, others echoed, adding straws and programs, creating a mess around her. This is your level, Elise, Julian sneered, his voice audible on the live stream. Laughter erupted from the audience, with some yelling, sweep the stage next. The scattered debris created a mortifying backdrop around Elisa's chair. She remained composed, her cotton dress a symbol of resistance, though her fingers tightened around her plaque, her knuckles bone white. Maria's expression on the live stream conveyed intense distress, each object thrown a painful blow to her daughter's sense of worth. The crowd's anger escalated, their hearts racing, yearning for the mistreatment to stop, for Elise to transcend the crowd's harshness. Claire Voss, a media heiress, her diamond choker catching the light, rose to her feet, her voice cutting and dramatic. This is mortifying for everyone, she announced, speaking to the hall with regal authority. Does Elise believe she can be valedictorian in that second-hand dress? She indicated Elise, her bracelet chiming, a cruel smile playing on her lips. You're someone who received charity and got fortunate. You are not welcome on this stage. The audience exploded in uproar, students yelling, go back to the slums. And she's ruining the aesthetic. Claire lifted a hand, quieting them, her gaze fixed intensely on Elise. Your mother is insignificant, and you are even less, she stated, her words deliberate and sharp. Depart before you escalate the situation. Mobile phones illuminated the scene, capturing Elisa's composure, her cotton dress becoming a focal point of their derision. Maria gripped her phone, the live stream showing her daughter's distress. While the audience's frustration grew, their sympathy focused on Elisa's honor. When the student speeches were to be presented, Elisa's name was scheduled to begin. She had dedicated weeks to writing her speech, a recognition of strength, and a tribute to her mother's sacrifices. As she stood, her heart calm, she moved towards the stage, still holding the plaque. A coordinator, a wiry woman wearing a black blazer, blocked her way, holding a clipboard as if it were a shield. I'm sorry, you're not on the official list of speakers. Please step down, she stated, her voice cold and amplified by the microphone attached to her lapel. The hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on Elise. The coordinator's lips moved slightly, seemingly pleased by the situation. Elise hesitated, her breath momentarily suspended, but her expression remained calm. Ms. Langley, the coordinator, approached Elise, who stood motionless on the stage, her clipboard held high. "Did you hear me, Miss Carter?" she inquired, her voice laced with disapproval and amplified through the microphone. "You will not be speaking today. You are not part of this group." She then faced the audience, offering a strained smile, seemingly seeking their agreement. "We uphold certain standards at St. Morel, and this," she indicated Elise's dress, "does not meet them." The hall erupted in laughter, a sound like a tidal wave, with students clapping as if at a show. "Perhaps you could assist your mother with the cleanup," Langley remarked, her words pointed. Elise's plaque vibrated in her hands, her hazel eyes flashing with pain, but she remained silent. The live stream displayed Maria's face, tears flowing, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The viewers' anger intensified, their hearts racing, hoping Elise would withstand this final setback. A murmur arose, spreading quickly. "She's poor," a boy in the front row whispered, his voice audible to those watching the live stream. "Sad, but appropriate," a girl added, her diamond bracelet flashing as she chuckled. Natalie shifted, her expression growing more knowing, her hand lightly touching her dress, as if disregarding the unfolding situation. She had planned this, dedicating hours to influencing the event committee, making sure Elise's name was removed from the speakers. This was her last offering to the beneficiary who had the audacity to overshadow her. The hall's laughter amplified, a collective expression of derision, each syllable a missile aimed at Elise's reputation. Outside, Maria held her phone, her complexion ashen, the live stream displaying her daughter's embarrassment for all to see. Elise remained motionless, her fingers subtly shaking around the plaque. The coordinator indicated the staircase, her urgency noticeable. "Please proceed, Ms. Carter," she stated, her voice clear enough for the rear sections to hear. The hall seemed to anticipate Elise's faltering, her tears, her demonstration of inadequacy. However, Elise remained composed. She raised her head, her hazel eyes surveyed the room, and she spoke, her voice firm and unwavering, piercing the surrounding sounds like a sharp instrument. "Thank you for revealing who genuinely belongs in this place." The words were gentle, yet they held a significance that momentarily hushed the murmurs. She then turned, her footsteps silent on the marble, and started to walk away from the stage, her head held high, her dignity a protection against their harshness. As Elise began to leave the stage, Natalie stood up again, her emerald gown a beacon of spite. "This is why we don't associate with the staff," she announced, her voice sharp and clear through the hall. "Elise, you're a stain on St. The impact of Morel's legacy was palpable. A harsh judgment fell, your mother's a failure, and you're her echo, accompanied by a gesture towards the live stream screen, acknowledging Maria's viewership. "Go join her outside where you both belong." The audience responded with cheers, their applause seeming to mock Elise's distress, as phones documented her every movement. "No one wants you here," Natalie added, her smile laced with malice. Elise's flats made a soft sound on the marble floor, her plaque clutch held firmly, her hazel eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Maria's sobs resonated through the live stream, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The audience's anger boomed, their spirits saddened, hoping Elise would withstand this ultimate setback. The hall's derision intensified as she walked down the steps. "Back to the slums," cried a boy, his voice lost in the laughter. A girl threw a crumpled program at Elise's feet, saying, "Pick it up, janitors, kid." The paper slid across the floor, brushing Elise's flats, but she didn't stop. Her steps were even, her face serene, but the audience outside, Maria's audience, felt each insult as a physical blow. Maria's hands shook, tears streaked her face, but she didn't avert her gaze from the screen. Elise was her daughter, her pride, and they were dismantling her for entertainment. The hall's laughter was a storm, unrelenting, each remark a wound no one could see but everyone could feel. Natalie stood, her emerald gown shimmering, her voice ringing out. Let's acknowledge her effort with applause, she stated, clapping deliberately and with a hint of sarcasm. The auditorium responded, the sound echoing emptily, a distorted imitation of reverence. Perhaps she could present at the community college next, Natalie remarked, her smile sharp. The laughter intensified, phones lighting up as students documented Elisa's departure, their captions already being composed. Scholarship girl falters. Elisa's form diminished against the stage's light, her cotton dress a striking difference from the radiant audience. She felt isolated and vulnerable, her opportunity taken by individuals unfamiliar with hardship. The audience's frustration was palpable, their emotions aligned with Elise, hoping she would retaliate. Suddenly, the doors opened and all movement ceased. Security cleared a path, their dark suits creating a sharp contrast to the hall's grandeur. Bright light flooded the space, highlighting a person in a gray suit and black tie. Noah Grayson, only successor to Grayson Industries, entered the room. At 24, he possessed a striking presence. Tall and lean, with dark hair swept back and eyes like carved steel, sharp enough to cut through lies. His presence was electric and commanding, the kind that silenced a room without a word. He had built Grayson Industries' renewable energy arm into a $50 billion empire, and his name was whispered in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York. But to Elise, he was simply Noah, the man who'd fallen for her mind, her heart, and her quiet strength. Noah approached Elise, his movements purposeful, his eyes fixed on her. The hall seemed to pause, the sound of laughter fading. He extended his hand, his touch gentle yet steady, halting her progress. "You're not going anywhere," he stated, his voice quiet but strong, audible throughout the hall. "This is a ceremony of honor, and you're the only one here who genuinely deserves it." Elisa's eyes relaxed, a subtle smile gracing her lips. However, she remained silent, her lack of words more impactful than any declaration. Noah's hand remained on hers, his touch conveying a promise, a protection from the atmosphere of the room. He addressed the event organizers, his steady gaze focusing on the coordinator, who visibly recoiled. "I've been the primary sponsor of St. Moral for 3 years," Noah stated, his voice calm yet resolute, each word carrying significant weight. "This hall's construction, the scholarships you receive, and the continuation of your legacy were all made possible by my family's contributions. However, I am formally withdrawing all future funding unless Elise Carter is invited back onto that stage." Immediately, the event coordinator's clipboard visibly shook, and her complexion drained. The dean, positioned at the front, rose to speak, but Noah's intense look stopped him. The hall felt like a silent chamber, with every attendee motionless, their earlier confidence dissipating under Noah's control. Noah's gaze moved to Natalie, who appeared stiff, her smile vanished, her hands tightly holding her dress. "Natalie Harrington," he stated, his voice sharp and clear, "you sent me 27 messages over the last 4 months, requesting a meeting, a partnership, an opportunity to be at my family's table. Don't believe I was unaware that you altered the speaker list today." A sudden commotion filled the room, eliciting gasps and murmurs as heads turned to Natalie. Her face was flushed, and her eyes moved quickly, desperately seeking an escape route. "You believed you could remove Elisa's name," Noah stated, his voice cold, "but you have only damaged your own reputation." Natalie's chair scraped against the floor as she rose, her voice shaking. "That is not accurate," she insisted, but the attention of the hall was now focused on her, scrutinizing, disapproving. The coordinator spoke quietly to the dean, who responded with a somber nod. Security advanced towards Natalie, their footsteps echoing on the marble. "Ms. Harrington, you're needed at the disciplinary board," one stated, his voice resolute. Natalie's gown snagged on her chair as she lost her balance, her heels striking the floor in a defeated rhythm. The hall remained silent as she was led away, her sphere of power diminishing with each step. Noah's voice resonated, a commanding presence that quelled the hall's whispers. He stated that this wasn't solely Natalie's responsibility, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the audience, identifying those involved. "I possess evidence, emails, texts, and witness testimonies, demonstrating a planned effort to remove Elise from the speaker list." He retrieved a tablet from his suit, its screen illuminating with information. Claire Voss, you provided a bribe of $50,000 to the event committee to modify the list. Ethan Caldwell, you disseminated rumors regarding Elise's alleged academic dishonesty to damage her GPA reputation. Ms. Langley, it is known that you enforced the altered list for a promotion. A collective gasp rippled through the room, with heads turning towards the accused, their faces visibly paling. Grayson Industries is initiating an investigation, and individuals implicated will confront legal repercussions, Noah announced. Elise's reputation is paramount. The hall's silence was palpable, those found wanting visibly retracting under his scrutiny, and the audience erupted in applause, their spirits lifting as justice prevailed. Dean Dr. Harold Vance approached the podium, his face pale, his voice wavering under Noah's intense look. St. Morel has let down its most promising student, he announced, his words transmitted to the live stream. Elise Carter's exclusion was a planned action, and we acknowledge complete responsibility. He addressed the faculty, specifically mentioning Dr. Tate. Your comments were inappropriate, and you are suspended while a review takes place. He then spoke to the students, his voice resolute. An investigation into harassment is underway concerning Julian Pierce and Sophia Lyle. Expulsion is a possible consequence. A collective gasp rippled through the room as the accused visibly recoiled, their confidence diminishing. Ms. Langley, your involvement in this sabotage concludes your time here, Vance announced. The silence in the hall felt like a judgment, while the live stream audience expressed their approval as events transpired. Elise remained composed, her cotton dress appearing radiant, embodying a sense of grace. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, the hall's appearance a clear sign of her victory. An outside live stream showed her leaving, the audience applauding Elise's validation. Elise returned to the stage, her cotton dress shimmering beneath the chandeliers, still holding her plaque. The hall was quiet now, everyone's heads lowered, the previous ridicule now replaced with regret. She approached the podium, her hazel eyes scanning the room, her voice calm and resolute. This moment wasn't hers alone, she stated, her words gentle but impactful. It was for her mother, who had instructed her that diligence surpasses riches. It was for each student informed they don't belong. The applause commenced, initially subdued, then growing, a wave of esteem. Elise didn't revel in it, she didn't require it. Her silence had conveyed volumes. Her dignity had prevailed. Elise approached the podium, her presence a restrained power that transformed the hall. I stand here not for myself, but for every voice silenced by wealth, she stated, her voice clear, resonating with unwavering strength. My mother taught me that honor isn't bought, it's earned. This scholarship in my name will ensure no student is judged for their background. She raised her plaque, its gold a symbol of her triumph, and faced the audience. St. Morel will change or it will fall, I choose change. The applause erupted, students and guests standing, their earlier scorn replaced by reverence. Noah's eyes shone with pride, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. On the live stream, Maria's face glowed, the crowd chanting, Elise, Elise. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze, reflecting a legacy forged in truth. The audience's hearts thundered, Elise's words a clarion call, her triumph a light that would burn forever. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Noah took a seat beside Elise, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of forever. The dean announced new honors. Maria Carter, Elise's mother, received the Inspiration of the Year award, her name appearing on the live stream screen. Maria's tears shifted to a smile as the crowd outside cheered with pride. Grayson Industries announced a $10 million scholarship in Elise's name for students demonstrating leadership potential from low-income families. The audience responded with applause, but Elise's gaze was fixed on Noah, her heart brimming, her triumph achieved. Standing at the podium, Elise experienced a profound silence that highlighted her victory. This moment isn't solely for my benefit, she stated, her voice firm, carrying a strength that impressed those present. It's for my mother, who worked nights to provide me with an opportunity. It's for every student who has been told their aspirations are too modest. She displayed her plaque, its gold gleaming in the light, and continued, Grayson Industries' leadership in my name will create openings for others similar to me, and I'll ensure St. Morel never forgets the meaning of honor. The applause resonated, students and guests rising, their previous disapproval now replaced by wonder. Noah stood beside her, his hand on hers, his pride a silent strength. Outside, Maria's face was illuminated on the live stream, the crowd chanting Elise's name. The hall's chandeliers appeared to shine more brilliantly, mirroring a fresh legacy, one founded on truth, not wealth. The audience's hearts expanded, Elise's victory a symbol of justice destined to resonate beyond these walls. Following the ceremony's conclusion, Noah and Elise emerged, the spring air cool against their skin. He held a small velvet box, a diamond ring glittering in the sunlight. Turning to Elise Carter, he spoke, his voice gentle, intended only for her. "You're my home, my truth. Will you marry me?" Her smile was radiant, her nod immediate. The crowd outside erupted, Maria rushing to embrace them, her scrubs a badge of honor. Elise and Noah stood together, their hands entwined, their future a beacon of hope. Natalie faced a brief disciplinary hearing, resulting in expulsion for altering the honors list. Her family's reputation suffered. The live stream gained global popularity, elevating Elise and dominating social media, her narrative embodying resilience. St. Morel's reputation evolved, its influence expanding, its character transformed by a girl in a cotton dress. Elise needed no adornments. She represented hope. Like, share, and subscribe for more narratives such as this, and let us know in the comments, who would you have applauded?